Most people think healthy is about restriction, but I see it as choosing my struggle. I'd rather suffer through 20 minutes of chopping fresh vegetables than suffer the long-term effects of fatty liver and insulin resistance. In this video, I'm showing you what a week of worth it suffering looks like. This is Mediterrasian cooking. My mission here is to help you become healthier and make more informed choices about the food you put into your body. If you're finding these tips and recipes helpful, subscribing is a huge help. It helps get this to more people, and if you're already part of the community, thank you so much for your support. The first thing I'll start with is homemade burger buns. Many recipes require you to bake the potatoes for an hour, but let's try to be more efficient, so I'll boil them instead. Add water and some salt to a pan and bring it to a boil. In the meantime, prepare about 3 potatoes. Peel the skin and cut them into cubes to speed up the boiling process. Add them to the water. This week I decided to add pizza to the menu, so we'll start by preparing the dough for that first. Dough recipes are different, so for this pizza dough, start adding lukewarm water to a bowl, not hot, not cold, because the yeast needs it to be just warm, followed by active dry yeast and salt. Many recipes call for at least 1 tablespoon of sugar, but if you follow this recipe, you'll see it's not mandatory. You can get a very delicious pizza without it. Add some olive oil, give it a mix, and then start adding the flour 1 cup at a time. Knead after each addition. Depending on the flour you use, you may need a little more or less, so adding it gradually helps you get the right texture. Kneading will take about 10 minutes. Then set it aside to rest for about 90 minutes. I am a mother on a rush, and you'll see that even with 30 minutes of rest, the dough is still pretty manageable. Let's make the buns now. In a bowl, add water and active dry yeast, followed by salt. I added 2 small eggs, but if yours are large, just add 1. If the egg is room temperature, even better. Add melted butter, make sure it's not hot, and then start adding the potato. You can either mash it with a fork beforehand or do it directly in the bowl if you can. Make sure it's just warm, not hot, so it doesn't burn the yeast. 150 grams of potato should be fine. Make sure it's just warm, not hot, so the yeast doesn't burn. 150 grams should be fine. We need the potatoes to make the dough soft and really enhance the bread. Once the mixture is well combined, start adding the flour. Again, 1 cup at a time, not the entire amount at once. All-purpose flours work just fine. Mix it very well until you get a nice dough. Then set it aside and let it rest for about an hour or so. A recipe we've had on repeat this past month is this roasted cauliflower. In a cup I mix 2 eggs very well. We try to keep it low carb, so we'll just use a bit of flour. instead of breadcrumbs like most recipes have. Add paprika, salt and black pepper and cut the cauliflower into relatively small pieces. The way I do it is very simple. I cover them in egg, roll them individually in the flour mixture and spread them on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper and a bit of olive oil. I had a beautiful cauliflower and so I put the rest of it in the freezer for another round when I want to cook it. I also had some leftovers in the refrigerator, so I decided to add a few tomatoes and mushrooms to the sheet. I sliced some white onion and added it right on top. For this I added some freshly chopped dill. It's such a nice addition. Then I bake at 450 Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, then turn them over and bake again for another 10 or 15 minutes at 250 Fahrenheit. A recipe I love to use as a dressing is this tzatziki sauce. I even use it on my burgers and my husband confirms that it's just a great combo, so it's not just a weird pregnancy habit. I've noticed that one large cucumber is just enough. I cut it into 2 pieces, take the seeds out, since that's where most of the water is, and then chop it as thin as I can. Once finished, I squeeze it very well between my hands to remove any excess water and add it to the bowl. The next very important ingredient is dill. I chop it as finely as possible and add it right on top of the cucumber. I squeeze a very well ripe lemon straight from the garden. and finally add the sour cream. Give it a good mix and your dressing is just ready. The cauliflower and the rest of the veggies have cooked through beautifully. The cauliflower is crunchy on the outside and very soft on the inside. It melts in your mouth. For the pizza, I'm grating some mozzarella. Surprisingly, it's quite pricey here in Georgia comparing to Romania. This piece of cheese is about $10. But anyway, I grate a lot of it. On parchment paper, I add some olive oil. You can see that the dough rose beautifully and is ready to use. Feel free to do stretch and fold if you want, to let it rest again, or even refrigerate overnight to get a better crust. But we aren't very patient in this regard, and so we just shape it on the parchment paper. And follow with the tomato sauce. I know there are fancier ways to shape the dough, but I want to simplify things as much as possible. I spread the cheese so even the edges are covered. I'm a no pizza expert, but it was very delicious. On top of the cauliflower, I spread some chopped fresh cilantro. Pizza goes in the oven for about 15 minutes at 500 Fahrenheit. Keep an eye on it, it cooks very fast. Here you have the roasted cauliflower with the tzatziki sauce. I had some leftover fried chicken, so it was the perfect lunch to keep on repeat. It was so good. The pizza is ready too, it doesn't look bad at all. We do try to avoid carbs, but we made an exception this week. The dough for the buns is ready as well. This is also simplified. I wet my hands with water, shape the bun and place it on the parchment paper. The recipe should give you 12. In my case, I got 10 because a few were bigger. It's totally up to you. Before baking, you can brush them with an egg wash to give them a golden color. Bake for about 20 minutes at 450. Keep an eye on them. Another family favorite is this chicken recipe. I chopped some leftover white onion and put it on a plate. I grate about a teaspoon of ginger for extra fresh flavor and squeeze a large lemon from our garden. followed by many minced garlic cloves. I use about 5. Feel free to adjust to your taste. As it bakes, the garlic mellows out, so it's not as intense as it seems. I chop lots of fresh dill and cilantro, then add paprika, salt, black pepper, followed by a very generous amount of olive oil. Give it a good mix and let's cut the chicken. I start with the legs, then we move to the wings. I section it in half, separating the back from the breast. The breast is quite large, so I'll just cut it in 2, perfect for kids, and I cut the back into 2 pieces as well. I cover them one by one in the mixture and add them straight to the parchment paper. If you want a more intense flavor, you can let the chicken marinate overnight in the refrigerator, but for us it's the fast, efficient way, which is still delicious. So bake at 450 Fahrenheit for about 35 minutes, then maybe another 10 minutes at 200 Fahrenheit. Just make sure to keep an eye on it. There's no great burger without good beef that you cook yourself. I got 1 kilo of meat and shaped it into equal round patties. Ideally you want an 80-20 fat ratio, so you don't need oil or butter. Just fry them in a stainless steel pan. Mine didn't have quite that much fat, and so it did chart a bit here and there, but it wasn't bad. Season with salt, flip and cook for another 7 to 10 minutes until fully cooked. Especially being pregnant, I make sure everything is well done. I add a piece of cheddar that I sliced myself. They have funny shapes, but they'll melt anyway, so no problem. I'm cooking about 8. In the meantime, the chicken is ready. I'm trying to multitask. For the chicken, I had some leftover baked potatoes, which were amazing with the tzatziki. For the burger, I keep it simple. The bun is baked beautifully on the inside, as you can see. I add the patty and extra cheese, followed by tomato and lots of tzatziki sauce. avoid mayonnaise during pregnancy because of the raw egg, and I avoid ketchup because of the sugar. The yogurt sauce has you covered. Even store-bought pickles often have sugar, which is why I skip them. It was so good. Definitely give it a try. This week we expected some friends over and I wanted to serve them their own traditional food, which is khachapuri. It's basically bread with cheese and so easy and delicious. You need warm water, yeast, salt and some yogurt, which makes the dough soft. Mix it and start adding flour 1 cup at a time. My little helper mixes well, then I take over and knead by hand. When I finish, I add a few drops of olive oil and mix again. Most baked breads have sugar in them in order to soften the dough, but believe me, you don't need it. For your teeth alone, even a little sugar can have side effects, so I highly recommend avoiding it when it isn't necessary. This lentil soup is a staple for us because it's easy, delicious and high protein, especially during the fasting days. Saute the chopped onion, white or red doesn't matter, in olive oil. Thinly chop some garlic cloves and saute them for a minute or so. Chop a big carrot. This is such a nice addition. I chopped a bit more than I needed, so I'll give the rest to my kids as a snack. They love it. Cube a few potatoes and set them aside. I add the green lentils and carrots first because they take longer to boil than potatoes. I'll add them about 5 to 7 minutes later. Cover with water and add some salt. The pizza was so good that I sacrificed some khachapuri dough to make another one as a snack. For khachapuri they use imeruli cheese, which is a mild salted cow cheese. It's delicious with fried veggies, potatoes or meat. The soup is now ready for the potatoes, so I'll add them, I'll cover it and let it simmer for another 10 to 15 minutes. My snack pizza was ready fast. I spread olive oil on parchment paper. And shaped the dough with my fingers. Again, we keep it simple for minimal cleaning. Add the cheese, fold the edges over to cover it entirely, then press it down to hide the cheese. I turn it over so the cheese is more on top. Bake for 20 minutes at 450 Fahrenheit. A great addition to the soup is spinach. I cut the bunch into about 4 pieces, add it to the soup and let it cook for a few minutes. Finally, chop some fresh cilantro, add it and turn off the heat.